Welcome to Listen to This, where we dive deep into the work of decolonization, intersectionality, and solidarity. This isn't just a podcast, it's a practice, a living, breathing effort to show up, mess up, listen better, and keep learning, together. We're here to hold space for bold, uncomfortable, liberating conversations. We're not experts. We're people, white folks, actively unlearning, unpacking, and reckoning with the roles we've inherited in colonial systems. We enter this space in good faith, knowing that decolonization isn't a metaphor, intersectionality isn't optional, and solidarity isn't just a word, it's a responsibility. Every episode, we welcome guests whose work, life, and struggle expand our understanding of liberation. We listen, learn, and reflect with full hearts, open ears, and the humility to be called in and called out. And when we feel our internalized isms stirred up, we recommit. This is the work. With our guests, we will move through the what, the why, and the how, naming the systems, examining the roots, and always asking, how do we show up better for each other? How do we turn listening into action? Each guest-inspired merch drop funds their chosen cause, because this isn't just about awareness, it's about redistribution too. In addition, we will provide a direct link for donations of our guest's choice for those that wish to bypass our shop. This is a place for dialogue, accountability, and tangible support. So let's get into it with clarity, with courage, with care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're very, very honored and very pleased to introduce our guest, Miss Donna Hayes, who will have a table here for her time.
Okay, I'd like to first start off with how come all of this is taking place in my life. I came here to Portland, brought my family, and my grandson was killed by police. He was unarmed, on his knees. 17 policemen and a dog all around him. And one police officer decided he would shoot. They would like to make it seem like that he was reaching for something. There was nothing to reach for. He had a play gun. He wasn't mentally disturbed, so he knew bringing a play gun to a real gunfight would be suicidal. And the child had a lot to live for. And so that got me into this struggle. And I had to come up with all kinds of ways to show my displeasure with the system. As I'm not saying people, I said system. And first, headed up to our city council, telling them how I felt. They actually took out time and had a special session where I was able to speak and had others speak on my behalf, my family's behalf. Because we was a family who didn't know what to do. This is something new. It's not like we got a whole lot of gang members running through our family and the police is always shooting and we losing one. No, we're not. We're a small, close-knit family, and we had to find things to do. The city council was one. And then later, I have a friend named Jill that decided, let's do a car caravan. And I was like, yes. And we started off pretty small. And as we were obeying all the traffic and everything, and we had a few people that had experience with this type of thing, and it had inputs. I had a lady I like to call Bubbles. I don't know her name, but she used to have a bubble machine shooting on her car as we were going down the street. We had Adrienne Hood, who was very logistic. She knew ins and outs. She supplied us with walkie-talkies, flags, And all we had to do was come up with a route and where we was going. And this was in 2020 during the Black Lives Matter was standing out. And we started off at one probably 20 cars. And before it was over with, we had about 200.
Wow.
And we could not obey the traffic law, or we would have lost the whole parade together. And we were interviewed by a few papers, and it was a peaceful protest. It wasn't where we breaking windows, screaming at each other. Well, we had megaphones, so we screaming at people, but it was a peaceful. But it drew attention, made people look, ask questions. We had signs on our cars that made statements, and now we're trying it again. And it started off small. I mean, we had a caravan of one, but we did it anyway. We put a garbage can and a box with a picture of Elon Musk on top of the car and went to the Tesla takedown. And it drew attention. People paid attention. Okay, what's going on? And now my friend with her artist quality made one of Trump. She made it with paper mache out of a box and a sheet. And we drive around and people notice that. We get a lot of people that listen, thumbs up, give us the finger or shaka, and it's being noticed that people are standing up for what's right. I also, in my grief, took to writing. I'm not the best writer, okay? By far, I never got great grades in English class, okay? But it was a way to put my thoughts in some type of organized way. And as I was writing, I asked a friend of mine to look over my writing and help me out with correction. And one of the little things I sent to my friend, and she said to me, "Donna, this is a play." And from that point on, it went on, and it was dealing with the individuals who were shot by police. It wasn't just Black Lives Matter, it was the humanity matter. And I just kept writing, and it came from the standpoint of as a person was alive or came from the grave and just told you what was going on. It had moments where you laughed, where you cried, where you spoke. And it was just meant to show people that that person was alive. And another friend, which I was about to leave Portland at one point, but the people that I have encountered were such great friends that I couldn't leave. Because it's not that easy to find good friends. Well, but this friend decided, let me help you out, Donna. And she contacted Open Signal and had a casting call to see who would come out and play each individual person. And everybody volunteered. Like down directing, editing, acting, whatever was needed, it was all volunteered. And it was during the COVID season, so we had to film it because it couldn't go on stage. Nobody was coming out, I wouldn't come out. And so we did that. And turned out to be pretty nice. It won an award, and they gave me some money for it. And since everybody volunteered, I felt foolish keeping the money. So I gave it to them. It was around Christmas time. I gave them all gift cards. Hardest thing in the world to go to the store and get 20, 25 gift cards at one time.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And so I talked to my friend, the one that told me it was a play. And we decided that we're going to do a second version. This would include not just people killed through police violence, but through wars, through gangs, even as hard as it was, the police dying in the line of duty. And so we're working on that now. We're working on grants, trying to get this going. And it's a slow process, but you know, keep steady on it. And sooner or later it'll work out. But now, these days, in the Trump climate, the little orange clown, we're standing up against him. It's a battle for this world, seem like. Wars everywhere, people killing people, and children. That bothers me more than anything. I'm a grandmother. I got 20 something, I can't keep count, grandchildren, but I can keep count of my great-grand, it's 2. And I can't imagine losing any more of my grandchildren. So I'm compelled to stand up for people. And so I get with a group called PDX for Portland for Palestine. And I met great people in that. And I'm inviting them to join the caravan. Spread your message. My caravan doesn't have a particular message. The only message that I say is that the world is falling apart. And let's say something about it. Let's do something about it. So you can put anything you want on your car. I told them if you want to talk about rent prices going through the roof, put it on your vehicle. And it's a safe way, because during the COVID season, going out protesting, you was taking your life in your hand. You're not just standing up for life, you might be losing your life. So the car caravan was a safe bet. You know, you're around the people that you know and comfortable with. And it turned out pretty great. I even had, well, we had the 200 cars. We went past my daughter's home. And she stood there and watched 200 cars roll past her as she's in tears because of the people that stood by her. And that's one thing I like about Portland. The people, they are wonderful people. People went to jail behind protesting about my grandson. I had a gentleman had to put his house up as collateral to get out of jail. I actually even joined a group, that Pacific Northwest Family Circle. These are other women and men, families that then lost their children to gun violence. And we had something we could give each other. And we did. I mean, one lady taught me about really going out there, if you ain't up by yourself, how to protest. I used to put up little flyers, get a sheet of paper and print out something and staple them to electrical poles. And I would plaster a neighborhood. And I would take my 77-year-old mother with me because she had things to say. She was the person that actually marched with Martin Luther King in Chicago. So she was game. She wanted to fight too. And so even when I couldn't go out, you know, I had medical issues because I was tearing myself apart because I'm so emotionally connected to each person I talk to that I can actually feel their pain. So I started having medical issues, and my mother would go out there anyway, dressed in all her little buttons, and she's out at somebody's protest.
Yeah.
And I had to do it's like nephew asked me the other day, why do you do all of this? I said, because I have no other choice. I have to do this. Somebody has to make a stand. And if it's only me, then that's what it'll be. Like the Tesla takedown that Saturday, it was only one car in the car caravan, but we went anyway. And I tell other people, you can be an activist of one. You don't need a whole crowd to stand up. I watched someone stand on the corner, preach right there on the corner with a megaphone. So, and they didn't have a congregation. So you can do it. That's pretty much all I'm doing right at the moment. Screaming and hollering out the car that Trump gotta go.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I didn't time that. I just wanted to let you free flow, and I'm glad I did, because that was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So are you comfortable with go ahead and doing a little disc session, or do you want to kind of talk?
Go right ahead.
All right. So never done this before, but this is how we're going to kind of see how it goes. So the first thing is the decolonization. So that's pretty much going to the root of where all this shit comes from. You know, and basically police violence that comes from superiority complexes, mainly white superiority complexes, patriarchal complexes. It all comes down to that one person's better than the other person because of whatever. Can you think of any other things that kind of break it down and what can kind of brought us to where we are now, this jagged, ugly mess of...
Institutionalized violence comes to me, you know, the militarization of our culture, of our humanity has been militarized, it's been colonized and then militarized, and we've been all just kind of, shoved into this one narrow pathway where, we're happily armed. We're one of the most happily armed nations on planet Earth, and we are actually number one.
We have the most people in prison
and most
also.
weapons. Yes, exactly. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, I watch with that the state-sanctioned killing.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
horrible. I mean, one person that's going to be a part of my Silent Voices was a child. He was 13 years old, little kid, because he wasn't even good for his own size. He was small for his size, and he was given a 2-hour trial and a 10-minute session with the jury, and they found him guilty. He couldn't even sit in the chair and put the cap and stuff down on him. They had to prop him up and boost him up and stretch him out just to do it. And I think that's wrong. And the police, like you're saying, militarized. I mean, AR-15s. Let's blow them up. And I often ask myself, who's the enemy?
Right.
That you have to go and do this in a warlike manner. Who's the enemy?
Subservience is what I think they're going for with that. I mean, they're, they have to invoke fear. They have to instill fear in us in order to keep us in line, to keep us from stepping out of those narrow ways that they have preset for us. So, and they like to make examples out of us every so often, out of the people who, for whatever reason, are either in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they dare to stand up and fight back in some way. However it is, they do like to come in and make examples. Again, this is a method of crowd control. Because, this country has a lot to lose, and if it, implodes from the inside, that's.
Well, I like to make examples too and use some flex myself.
Yeah.
When they killed
exactly.
Pat, the chemist kid, I went downtown. They was investigating. I was down there. They had 2 policemen blocking the streets where you can't go and get involved in the investigation. So in my head, I said, oh, captive audience. And they had no other choice but to listen to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was brutal. But what can they do?
Yeah.
I took a play out of their playbook.
Exactly.
Because if they had me back at a table in their police station, they would have bombarded me with no mercy.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
That's right.
sometimes I give what you give to me. I give it back. Here,
Yeah.
you can have it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, it's like they're almost upping the ante, because I'm not sure if you read this or not, but Trump did another executive order where he's like letting police forces have military grade weaponry now, which is
They've been doing
par
that
for
for
the
a while.
course,
Anyway, the
par for
military
course.
give them their,
Oh yeah.
their
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yep, yep. It's a few years older, but it's just battle. It's battle tech. It's battle tech, and it shouldn't be on the streets. It's not peacekeeping. It's not societal keeping. It's keeping people in line.
It's raw intimidation.
That's all it is. You know, and the thing is, if you have a society built upon, and this society has been built upon degradation, colonization, about keeping a certain amount of people in segregation, and
Keep them down.
yeah, keeping them down. That's the basis of this country is founded on that. That's why cops are formed. Where to, you know, go after runaway slaves and keep their fucking commodities in. 13th Amendment, that's another fucking legalization of slavery.
Right.
Fucking, right now, the internment camps, they're making money.
Right.
You know, El Salvador's making money. You know, it's always been a profit measure. And
Yeah.
all the cops are doing is maintaining profits for America.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Status
now
quo.
we got people with money in office.
Yep.
Even if they're not even elected,
Right.
they're still in office, controlling us.
Mm-hmm.
And has actually said that some people are a waste of resources.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, maybe I'm a waste of resource because I get Social Security, disability, I'm falling apart, okay? I'm not quite homeless, but not the way I would like to be. I'm probably a waste of resources. So I tell people, keep an eye out on me. Call me every once in a while, check on me.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably one of them people that gonna get deported because my Facebook page, my Blue Sky page is littered with Trump and his Nazism, because I can compare things that he do with the things the Nazi Party did.
Directly, yes.
But that is a good point about keeping an eye on each other and, you know, paying attention to what's going on, because we don't know at what moment.
Yeah, because a lot of people have been released from ICE because a group of people stood up.
That's right.
And so if I'm coming up missing, I want somebody standing outside the ICE building saying, hey, let that go.
You know we would. We'd be loud and proud too. But that's a good segue into the intersectionality component, where it's like, you know, what is that intersection there with, and I think, you know, in this case, you know, we're all under this boot in one way or the other.
That's why we have to keep an eye on each other, call up. That's why I call people and say, how you doing? What you doing?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
You know, because in this climate, anything can happen.
That's true. Well, like you were saying, it works both ways too. Anything can happen on this level too.
Yeah.
We gotta keep keeping up the happenings.
And, you know, one of the main things about, you know, finding the intersection between all these movements and whatnot is because once we find the intersection, we see where we all get together and we're all one force. You know, that's why it's so important to put it all, you know, take it all apart, decolonize it, and then see where it kind of fits together,
Mm-hmm.
and see where it can aim. You know, that's kind of the cool thing about this. I mean, because police brutality and the state-sanctioned violence, it intersects everywhere. Everything.
Yeah.
You can't go into a friggin' store now. You
Right.
can't go into Safeway without seeing militarized friggin' security
Security
guards.
Right.
You know, they're not even
That's-
cops and they're fucking dressed like they're in Iraq or something. You know,
Yeah.
it's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't walk down the street without, in Portland, you can't walk down the street downtown without seeing 2 or 3 different type of military
Right.
type carriages running around. These aren't even cops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just bleeding through to every bit of our society where, you know, our friend Mal is like,
Becoming a new norm.
yep, it is.
That's
It
what-
is.
That's basically why we see all of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming a new norm.
Well, that's why we got to put down our roots now.
And make a stand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is
Absolutely.
something that I find that being united in a cause
Mm-hmm.
makes a stand, shows you the powerful one, not them.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
we went for our organization Surge, helped us out with what we was doing was called DA for the People, because the present DA was, I'm gonna be nice and just say dusty.
Yeah.
Okay, and I once tried to talk to him and he took off running. I'm on a walker. He ran. And I was standing on my walker looking at him running. I could see the bottom of his shoe.
Run fast.
Away. Because he didn't have the time to talk to me. So we knew that he had to go. Because, you know, if you can't talk to a person, what are you doing? This is a job where you have to talk to people. And so we did one. And I actually liked the DA that had been elected. He was a pretty decent guy. He wouldn't put protesters in jail because the police, every time you went out there and said, Black Lives Matter, click, click.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
here you go.
Mhm.
And he didn't press charges against them. They hated him. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. I wanted to keep him. I actually had his email address, personal email address, that I could directly ask him questions. And he, within 24 hours or less, he has returned my email. Yeah, I asked him to, I told him about a young man that was having drug issues and this, that, and the other issue, and they got a program. Could you consider him for that program? And next thing you know, I got a telephone call from his office asking me, tell me his number, when is his court day, da da da. I was like, this is a good man. These are the type of people we should have. You know, our police chief outlaw we had, she was, poor excuse, she, a friend of mine called her at Fred Meyer's one day, went to talk to her. She ended up putting him in jail, pressing charges against him, and the judge had to tell her, look, you're a public official. If they see you, you are public.
Uh-huh.
So no, you cannot put a restraining order on him.
Yeah.
So he walked away from that one, because it's true,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Is that DA still around? Is that the current DA, or was that a previous?
That was the previous one.
Yeah, the new one's kind
New
of.
one is, he, from my understanding, is keeping a few of the programs that this DA has started. Not all of them. And he's back friends with the police, so I actually emailed him and told him I'm a victim of the police. Could you do something?
Yeah.
Tell him to stop showing up at our rallies.
Except harassing me.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop harassing us.
Yeah, no matter
Seriously.
where we were in the city,
Yeah.
no matter southeast, northwest, downtown, we had 20 police. We're under surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling them, most probably following you off your social media, but it's still surveillance by police.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's scary to have them, especially 20 of them sitting around, because it only takes one to shoot.
Yep.
I can tell you that firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm quite uncomfortable with all of them. So I contact the city.
Yeah.
I told them,
exactly.
yeah, you're breaking Oregon's law.
Mhm.
Oregon has a law against that.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is a protest state.
Mhm.
This state is a state that stands up for what they believe, even when their belief could be wrong. You know,
Mhm.
because when they came into being, they had the exclusion law.
Mm-hmm.
That's so wrong. But they got rid of it. Late in life, they got rid of it. But they stood for what they believe. We don't believe in slavery. We really don't want black people in our neighborhood.
Mhm.
I really don't see a problem with that.
Right.
You know, because you had a belief.
Mhm.
But you stood, and they stood their ground. That's what I like about Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So solidarity. Solidarity is strong in,
Yeah.
in a lot
Which
of
is a good
ways.
segue.
It was a good segue.
Yeah, perfect. So how can people show up for you and for your calls and for
Well, it's called PDX Car Caravan 2.0 because it's the new one.
Yes.
And we can be found on Facebook, Blue Sky, and it's one that I have very much difficulty pronouncing. But they are, you can get on there at sites and see where we at, when we're gonna go about.
Oh, that's the indomitable? No, not Indivisible.
Yeah, I think it's Rose City Indivisible, right?
It
Okay.
is. It's theirs.
If we ever publish this, I'll like link it up and like make sure it's,
Excellent.
And you can go on there and you can check and say, I'm coming. We like to have a clear idea about our numbers because we're working because of the climate we're in to obey most, I ain't gonna say all, most traffic things. Okay, and if we have a lot of people, we need to go places where there's no light, a whole lot of lights, because you can lose a person, lose a whole section of it, because we do not give everybody the route. They pretty much we give
Right.
certain what we call pod leaders.
Yeah.
The route. So they got their group of people they keep track of. They know where we gonna be at. And then we got a couple of walkie-talkies where we can tell I'm stuck at the light. We got 3 cars at the light. That's how we did it the last time. So we're working to increase it. And if the numbers get big, I'll go get a parade permit. And then I can have police quarters. Isn't it? I think that'd be nice. Because I'm going by, I can give them the middle finger, and get to the next corner and do it again. And say to myself, you had to do it.
And doing your job. Just doing your job.
And I'm going to make sure of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your next car caravan is going to be on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We're
Yeah.
getting the details together as we speak.
And we're working on details, and I like to go somewhere where it really be seen, where it's a group of people. We normally go where, you got the little outside cafes, and that way we're seen and heard. Because really, some people have not woke up and looked to see what's going on.
Right.
A trans man at Planned Parenthood mentioned about Elon Musk, and he said, "Oh, is that the man that make the electric car?" And I'm saying, "No, he's your president."
Pretty much, yes. I know everything but paper, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
He's an unelected president. Okay,
He's your
and
new
he's getting rid of jobs, and he already getting rid of you. You.
You don't exist
Okay.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't exist anymore.
Just they get me out the military and they can put you in jail. And they're gonna
Right.
put you in jail with a bunch of women.
Right. And you know, they've been laying the groundwork for this for a long time. I mean, to be honest.
25,
That's about Reagan.
2025, that's the name
About
of it.
Reagan. Yeah.
It's a think tank.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
they've been
called Project
planning it.
2025, yeah.
And by the Heritage Foundation.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
used to think they was probably some decent people, but I'm finding out no.
Right, no. And then on top of that, you know, I mean, that groundwork that's also been laid is that, you know, administration after administration after administration, regardless of the color they fly, you know.
And I know
Bringing us to this point.
I actually have Trump supporters as friends, close friends. And nobody understand why, but they ain't got to understand. They're my friends. And I've asked questions. I want to know what's going on. What's the thought process? Because if you get the thought process, maybe I might understand, or maybe I can explain to you where you went off the deep end.
Yeah.
And one of my friends is not working at all, but I'm not giving up on her. I tried a new tactic. I told her about, you know, how Trump going into the museum. He's erasing my history. I don't know my history. You can get your history back. All you gotta do is stand on top of that mountain, because she lives in Tennessee, and see all her relatives all on that mountain. Okay? And she can date. I say, I can't do that. He's erasing my history. He's saying it's un-American. And I asked her, don't you think I'm an American too? She told me I was American, is just like apple pie. But she still goes along with Trump. So that is scary. People need to be informed. And not just informed, those people need to listen. You know, I sit here and talk all day and say nothing and say something spectacular and nobody paying attention. And that's what they're doing. They're not paying attention because he said things. He said, "Hail the king" or something. Did anybody hear that? Was I the only one sitting there like with my mouth wide open? We don't have a king. The framers of the Constitution made sure of that.
That's basically why America started, because we didn't want kings or tariffs, and here we are with the king and tariffs.
Right.
We think about the tariffs. This is in the Great Depression.
It's gonna be worse.
Tariffs was involved in that.
Yeah.
I like to read, and I love history. You know, I met somebody that said, "Oh, I love science." I hated science. I mean, it's valuable, but it was just not me. I like history. And I always believe if you don't learn from history, you're destined to repeat it. They didn't say that for just to be saying it. It's true. Because we're looking at history in play again. So, we live in a spooky time.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, at this point we would open
Pleasure.
up. Yeah, at this point we'd open up for questions and answers. And we'd have like a live chat going on, and hopefully a moderator to make sure we don't get weirdos in.
Oh, always. I got one on my Facebook page.
I just don't have the bandwidth.
Everybody tell me, why don't you just block him? If I block him, I can't go on his page.
Mm-hmm.
So I go on his page all the time and ask